Wildfires are a serious threat to rail lines and the freight supply chain in Canada. In this section, we will explore how wildfires damage rail lines and disrupt the freight supply chain in Canada, causing a backlog of deliveries and affecting various industries. Rail lines are vital for transporting goods across Canada, especially from the west coast to the rest of the country. However, rail lines are also vulnerable to wildfires, which can damage the tracks, bridges, signals, and equipment. Wildfires can also force rail companies to suspend or reroute their operations for safety reasons. One example of this happened in July 2021, when wildfires burning across British Columbia damaged rail lines and brought train shipments to a grinding halt. The fires destroyed parts of the town of Lytton, BC, where both CN and CP rail lines passed through. The fire also damaged a bridge and a tunnel on the CP line, making it unsafe to use. This caused trains to back up along the network, idling thousands of rail cars and stranding their contents. The backlog affected all sorts of freight, including coal, grain, lumber, oil, chemicals, and consumer goods. Some of these goods were destined for export markets through the Port of Vancouver, which is Canada's largest and busiest port. The rail disruption had a ripple effect on various industries that rely on rail transport for their supply chains. For example, Canadian Minertech Resources said it expected to sell as much as 500,000 fewer tons of steelmaking coal due to the rail disruption. The AG Transport Coalition, a group that represents Canadian wheat, soy and canola producers, said that at the peak, more than 4,000 rail cars of crops were marooned because of the wildfires. The rail companies worked hard to inspect and repair the damaged lines and clear the backlog as soon as possible. They also implemented safety measures to reduce the risk of wildfires, such as reducing train speeds and increasing inspections during high heat. However, it took several weeks for the rail network to resume normal operations and clear the backlog. The wildfires in B.C. showed how a massive wildfire can keep growing like a freight train and disrupt the freight supply chain in Canada. They also highlighted the importance of rail infrastructure for Canada's economy and trade. As climate change increases the frequency and intensity of wildfires, rail companies and governments need to invest in more resilient and adaptive rail systems that can withstand and recover from such disasters. The devastating wildfire that destroyed most of the town of Lytton, BC, and killed 2 people earlier this month has raised concerns about the role of rail transport in sparking and spreading fires across Canada. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating whether a freight train was responsible for igniting the blaze that engulfed Lytton on June 30th, after the town had recorded the highest temperature ever in Canada at 49.6 degrees Celsius. In response to this tragedy and the increasing threat of wildfires due to climate change and extreme weather, the federal government has announced new measures to improve the safety and security of Canada's rail system. Transport Minister Omar Alghabra said that these measures are part of broader efforts to adapt to the impacts of climate change on critical infrastructure. One of the new measures is a set of rules for the fire season, which runs from April 1st to October. These rules apply to both Canadian National Railway, CN, and Canadian Pacific Railway, CP, the 2 largest rail operators in the country. They require the companies to reduce train speeds and conduct additional track inspections when temperatures are high to reduce the risk of a derailment caused by track conditions, inspect locomotive exhaust systems more frequently to ensure they are free of any deposits that could pose a fire risk, and implement a fire risk reduction plan. The Fire Risk Reduction Plan is a comprehensive strategy that requires companies to monitor fire risk levels, manage vegetation, reduce activities that could spark fires, and respond to detected fires. Companies must also engage local governments and Indigenous communities on their plans. Another new measure is the Rail Climate Change Adaptation Program, which aims to support research, development, and implementation of innovative technologies, tools, and approaches to better understand and address the increasing risks and impacts of climate change on Canada's rail sector. The program will provide up to $2.2 million in contribution funding to Canadian Railways to cost-share research projects that enhance the resilience of rail infrastructure against flooding, landslides, and fire risks. The minister said that these measures are interim steps while the department works with railway companies to incorporate them on a permanent basis. He also said that these measures are part of a larger framework for action on how to prepare for and prevent climate-related disasters over the longer term. The government is developing Canada's first national adaptation strategy, which will outline how to improve health and well-being, build and maintain infrastructure, steward the environment, make informed economic decisions, and enhance emergency management in a changing climate.